is class on fraud/scams. And we're going to be going over quickly some different types of scams, what they're called. And this is primarily so you can reference these later. You know, if you're trying to talk to someone else, or if you forget the name of something, you can always come back to this presentation. Mary will be sending out the slides. Mary will also be sending out a link to the video that's recorded from this. So just be aware, if you do speak, you will be on the recording. And as always, if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand using Zoom or, you know, physically, or you can always chat in the chat box, and Mary and I both will be monitoring that. So we'll begin. I'm hoping this class will be probably around 30 minutes of me talking with some fun interjections from the audience. And we can go over any topic discussed or not discussed, or anything you've seen in the news. We can talk about it all. Everything's fair game. So to start us off, I thought we would show a video. If you've been in one of our other classes, primarily the cybersecurity ones, or just, you know, the general ones on how to protect yourself online, I may have shown this to you before, but we're gonna watch it anyway because I like it, and it's short and fun. So I'm gonna play it for a second. Let me know if you can hear it, and then we'll continue on. Are you able to hear that?
No.
No. Okay, let's make sure that I have share sound turned on. All right, let's try this again.
World's best hackers to try to hack me and
Yeah.
show me what my vulnerabilities are.
So you can hear it now?
Yeah.
All right, so full screen and 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
So I invited a few of the world's best hackers to try to hack me and show me where my vulnerabilities are. And now I'm going to meet them in Las Vegas for DEF CON, the biggest hacker convention of the year. They're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
Do you want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice solicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and
Okay.
see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. My husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby, and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information, and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying, and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
At gmail.com?
Jessica gets access to my personal email address.
I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes. How would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me.
Jess uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are a couple takeaways from that. The first takeaway, and I want everyone to pay attention to this one because it'll help you in more life circumstances than just preventing fraud or preventing being scammed is if you notice how she talked to the support person, if she was mean in any way or really argumentative in any way, she wouldn't have gotten as far as she did. So by being really polite and really nice, she was able to get that person on the phone to essentially do whatever she needed, which is both scary and useful. The second thing is, while you may see this and say, oh, well, cell phone account, that's not too crazy. The scary part about that is that we use our cell phones to verify our identities. So a lot of two-factor authentication will use your cell phone. So the reason why that's scary is if you think you're safe because whenever you sign into your bank, it will send your phone a text message that you will then need to put in, 5 numbers or whatever. She now has access to the account. So she can possibly get that information as well. So two-factor authentication, while it's incredibly useful at preventing scams and fraud, two-factor authentication in general, that's one way you can get around it, is someone can just take over your cell phone account. But yeah, that was social engineering. So that didn't involve any kind of fanciness from the computer. It also didn't involve any interaction from you. So you didn't have to do something wrong. You could do everything right, and this could still happen. So yeah, this is kind of a scary video, but it's also slightly humorous. So that's why I wanted to start with it. And if you want to share that video to anyone, the link is in the slides. So did anyone, I guess before we go on, did anyone have any comments about the video or any thoughts?
Just that she is a skilled actor. Her facial expression was authentic for the emotion that she was expressing at the time, which gave her voice more authenticity.
Definitely. You can tell over the phone if someone's smiling or not.
Exactly. She good.
Yeah.
So Tim, I wanted, and everybody else, I want to just check us on my credit card before. They sometimes say they don't recognize this device, even though I've logged in 100,000 times on the same computer. And then they said, get a text or email, and I always ask for an email. And yesterday the email wasn't an option, so it had to be either a text or a phone call, and I got neither. So I called the number, and then it said my account was not valid. It turns out that supposedly that's just for debit cards, but I don't have a debit card with this particular institution. So it's I tried to explain to the woman, and she said, well, do you want to talk to our IT department? I said, no, you talk to them. Why is this, email thing no longer an option? And why am I supposed to get a call? I didn't get a call. Why was I supposed to get a text? I didn't get a text. Call the number, and it says, oh, I had to put in my card number. So I was like a little concerned, and then it said, oh, you don't have a valid account number or something. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, that could be a bad thing. It could also just be the business isn't, running great at the moment. And one of the fun things with credit cards, debit cards, and all that stuff is they will change their security policies every so often. So what might be an option today might not be an option in the future.
Yeah, it's just weird that they gave
fun.
me this phone number to call, and then it turns out, I think he said we don't have this account number. So I asked the woman, but then she said I should talk to the IT department. Isn't their responsibility to talk to the IT department, because I already been on hold forever and a day?
Yeah, sometimes they just kind of don't know the conversation is going in a direction where they won't know the answers. So sometimes they'll try and pass it off.
Yeah.
And one thing to note is if you ever get an email, you shouldn't, right? If you ever get an email from your bank saying, hey, call this number, you should probably call a number that you find. So one thing scammers will do is they will say, hey, to verify us, call us back, and they'll give you a number to call. But so like if you use Chase Bank, Chase won't send you an email, shouldn't send you an email saying, hey, call this number to verify. But if in the future, I don't want to say they'll never do that, but in the future, if you get an email like that, what you want to do is you want to find the number for Chase yourself, or already have it in your address book or contacts list, and then call that number directly to make sure it's real. So sometimes you'll get, so for example, one of my cards is Discover, and occasionally they will call me and say, hey, you know, can you call us back to verify that, you know, we are who we say you are, who we say we are, and you are who you say you are. Call us back. We have something about your account to discuss. And then I'll call a different number to contact Discover. And the last time they said, hey, just wanted to let you know that on your account, you know, we're just checking to see if you bought a $5,000 TV from, you know, Arlington. Was that you? And I say no, and they say, okay, cool, we're going to cancel it. So sometimes they will give you a notification, but always try and call back using a different number, or email them directly, or something directly in communication with them, not based on what you just got sent.
Okay.
I apologize if that sounded weird or obtuse, but it's kind of a roundabout way to make sure that you don't directly correspond with someone who may be trying to cause fraud or doing a scam.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to quickly go over losses. So last year, so in 2020, for crimes and fraud and scams committed over the phone for the American public, this does not include business losses. Phone was $29.8 billion, and identity theft was $56 billion. I didn't include email scams, mainly because all the numbers I found seemed really low, because I was finding them around $26 million, which seems like they got lumped into the identity portion of it. But just to let you know that this is a massive industry. And whenever something is a massive industry like this, it makes sense for them to keep doing it. You know, if they had a low chance of making money, they wouldn't be doing it. So it's real, they're getting better, they're putting resources into it. And next year's fraud and scam tactics will be better than this year's. So you have to always be vigilant. We will have a couple of different links you can click on afterwards that go directly to different consumer protection agencies where they can go over similar information. One of them, even that Mary provided, even has a little kind of quiz, so you can read a little bit, answer a question, and make sure you kind of, you know, really get the information. So definitely feel free to do that after this. So we're going to quickly go over some different types of popular ones. We're only going for the big boys here. So the advance fee. You might have seen this one before, but basically it's it's one of the famous ones with like the Nigerian prince, where he says, you know, I have a couple $1 million, it's locked up. I need someone to give me $2,000 or pay $2,000 to this bank so that they can release my funds so I can use them. As soon as I get my funds, I'll give you $1 million. So they'll want you to give them money before, and then in return, they will give you money. So the two main ones for this that I know about are the Nigerian prince scam, and foreign lottery. So you'll get an email or a call or a text message saying, hey, you just won the foreign lottery. Surprise, I bet you didn't even think you entered. And then it will say, you know, we require a $100 processing fee for your $50,000. So on the one side, it's a very small amount of money that you're giving up, relatively $100. So some people will be like, okay, well, yeah, that sounds reasonable, a processing fee, because this is an overseas lottery. We're going to give them $100. They're then going to send me $50,000, and it's going to be a great week. So that's one type, and that's the advance fee type of scam. This one, if you're in a business role, if you're working, and especially if you're in like a finance department or something like that, you'll get this all the time. This will generally be an email where it will pretend to come from the boss, and it will say, hey, the boss, me, the boss, I really need an iTunes gift card real fast. Can you buy it and then send me over the code on the back? So sometimes in the workday, people will be like, okay, well, that's a weird request, but it's not an unreasonable one. So they'll do it. And this is just, they'll send these emails off to hundreds of thousands of people. And as long as 100 people do it, they've made their money back. So it's going to keep coming. This one is incredibly popular with government agencies, mainly because they're so open. So everyone knows who, the town administrator is, or everyone knows who the head of the library is, kind of thing. So it's very easy to get that person's name. It's very easy to find the names of the people that are in the finance department, and then they'll shoot off an email and try and get it. Phishing is a more general one. This is generally, they'll just ask you for information. So one of the reasons why I always recommend against Facebook is a lot of the information people are trying to get when they're phishing you is information that you have on Facebook. So, if you're friends with your mom on Facebook or some uncles from the other side of the family, boom, they know your mother's maiden name, kind of thing. And that's one of the main questions. Sometimes you'll say, hey, I just visited, my first house, my parents' first house, and they'll have your street address, all that fun things. Your first pet's name, you'll probably have that on there. But phishing is just a general term for trying to get information from you. Emergency. This is one of my favorite ones, just because so many people fall for it. And it seems like something you wouldn't fall for, like hearing it out loud, but tons of people fall for it. You'll see it in the news all the time. So this is alternately known as the Grandparent Scam. And the scam goes something like this. Someone will call an older relative and say, hey, they'll say, hey, your granddaughter or grandson, just got arrested in Mexico and he needs $2,000 to pay his bail. We can't get a hold of any other family members. We need this right now. Otherwise, he's going to be in there over the long weekend and we won't be able to process him until, 4 days from now. And someone will freak out and kind of be like, okay. And then they'll wire the money. Or it'll be, so-and-so just got into the hospital. We don't have their medical information, but we need, $5,000 to start the operation. We need it immediately. So one of the things with this scam is it's always a sense of urgency. So they try to not give you enough time to contact the relative or the person who they're saying is in trouble or hurt or needs money, in order to just get you to give them the money quickly. And of course, there's always the one where they just pretend to be somebody. Hey, Aunt Susie, it's Joey. I'm in college and I just got in an accident. I need money to a down payment for a new car. I couldn't get a hold of anybody. Can you please give me $2,000? Stuff like that. And then, they'll wire the money and then they'll realize it days or months after that, this never actually happened, which is scary to think about because in your head, what you think of is, if someone told me that my grandson was in jail in Mexico, I would try and call the parents or the grandson or something like that. But because of the sense of urgency the situation provides, that often doesn't happen. Tech support. So we discussed this a little bit off the recording, but this will happen whenever you're browsing the internet and a pop-up will happen and it will say, hey, you've been infected with a virus. Please call Microsoft tech support and we'll help you. So two things will happen with this type of scam. One, they will ask for the ability to remote into your computer to help you out. And then they will run stuff and find viruses, quote unquote, or they will just start stealing your information right there. And then they will say, okay, well, I need $400 to fix this. And then they'll hope that you give them your credit card, they'll charge you $400. And then, great, now you've given them $400, but worse, you've given them access to your computer, which you're never sure if it's going to be clean again. And you've given them your credit card information so they can keep charging you money and you may not even notice. Someone just commented that they've had this when using a Windows computer, never on a Mac. So one of the fun things about that is I've seen it on a Mac as well, but they always think you're on a Windows computer. So that's a pretty easy giveaway that it's not real, is when you're browsing on your Mac and it says Microsoft, found 400 viruses on your Windows computer. And you're like, well, that's not true. The ways to get around this is, one, it's never going to happen. Like, it's never going to be a legitimate thing for Microsoft to say, hey, call me, we're going to fix you up. They're not that nice. And the other thing is that if you install a browser add-on such as uBlock Origin or something that blocks advertisements, it will block 99% of these type of pop-ups that are erroneous and malicious. All right, the next one. These are opportunities scams. So these are either, you've won something or even a new job offer. Well, they'll say, okay, this is, a great opportunity for you. You'll be making $20 an hour from your home, be your own boss, woohoo. And it will say, but you need to, buy this $500 starter kit, or you'll need to buy a laptop from our store in order to begin work. This happens a lot more when the economy is not doing great, because a lot of people will basically say, like, finally, I got a job. I'm going to buy a laptop. I needed to buy one anyway. And then, they'll pay for something. They'll pay for the starting material, and it's a scam. You may even quit your job and then realize that this job opportunity is not a real thing, which makes this one sort of sad. So these are opportunity scams. Fun fact, if anyone listens or watches the Select Board broadcast a couple of weeks ago, one of the Select Board members talks about someone falling for one of these scams. So, small world. Bogus department. So this is just, an email or a call saying, hey, this is the IRS. We're about to send, FBI to raid your house unless you pay us $200 in back taxes. So it's, they can choose a real entity, a fake entity, whatever it is. They'll basically say, hey, something really, really bad is going to happen to you unless you give us this amount of money because you owe it. This will also happen with like medical debt, where they'll find out, who has received treatment for something, and then they'll basically put in a fake collections email or phone call and try and get you to pay immediately for that, which again is annoying because it's kind of preying on people. All of these are. Overpayment scam. This is also one of my favorite ones. What will happen is someone will give you a check or a money order for too much money. So say you have a contractor and you had them redo your roof. I actually have absolutely no idea how much that normally costs, but let's say that they billed you or at, like $500, but for some reason they're giving you a check and they'll overpay it by like $2,000. And then you give them a check for the difference. The problem is the check or the money order that they gave you isn't real. The check you gave them is real. So instead of overpaying you, they actually didn't pay anything. And then you actually gave them real money. And the reason why this kind of works is the money will, quote unquote, be deposited in your account, and then they'll follow up and check to see if the check is legit. But by the time they check and see that the check is bounced, you're already out your money. So I may have explained that one incorrectly. Checks really aren't my favorite thing, but basically someone gives you money, $2,000, you only needed 1,500. They ask you to pay them 500, you do, their check bounces, you're out $500. All right, and the last one is super targeted. So these are where somebody either has access to your account, already has access to your email, has access to your computer, and is incredibly specific with targeting you. These are the ones that are really scary because they can be any number of different types. But these are generally the ones you see where, like a school or a hospital will lose a lot of money because they're super targeted. So they know exactly the right things to say. They know exactly the right forms to fill out. The good news for you is these are generally more of a business risk. Unless you're like a multimillionaire, it's very rare for you specifically to be targeted this intently. And this is kind of a catch-all phrase of just super targeted. So they already know all your information, so they're going to do whatever they want. And it's very difficult to stop this one. It requires almost no input from you, which is the unfortunate thing. All right, does anyone have any questions on or comments about the different types that we went through? Like phishing, emergency, opportunities, overpayment, anything like that?
On the emergency one, if I got a call about my grandson, my immediate response would be, well, why don't you just ask your Uncle Ralph? He lives 2 blocks away from where you are now. And of course,
Yep.
Uncle Ralph doesn't exist. And if the response is anything except, who the hell are you talking about? Then it's clearly a scam.
That's a really smart way to do it. It's kind of like having a passphrase. I remember a while ago, it was all the rage when I was a kid for your parents to give you like a code word, like pineapple. So like, if we're ever in an accident, don't get in the van or don't get in the car with anybody you don't recognize unless they say, your parents said to say pineapple for some unknown reason. And then the kid is like, okay, well, they gave the code word. This is a legitimate thing. So code words are always good with family members, in my opinion.
2-factor identification.
Anybody else have any questions? Oh, there's something on the chat.
I had a comment or kind of a question or experience I wanted to briefly share. In receiving something on your phone, I know there's supposedly ways you can tell if this is a legitimate email, like I can't remember what the letter is in the return address, which would show that it was, official. But anyway, the experience I had was I have Norton antivirus on my computer, and I'd been getting warnings that I had not enough space and they wanted me to upgrade, and I kept getting, and I was not going to do that because I may be getting a new computer. And then shortly thereafter, I got on an email saying they were Norton and that they had billed me $398 for my upcoming renewal, which I didn't believe I had done. It wouldn't be processed for 2 days. So call if you have any questions. Well, I called And that's what got me into trouble. But I had Norton, they've been communicating with me, and then I get an email. So I didn't even question it and thought I needed to address this. Well, that took me down a black hole, but I did not recognize it right away. And charming. And I don't want to be racial profiling, but with Indian accents and just being so kind to me. And some things happened that I should have recognized, and I didn't recognize. And then somehow they got into our bank accounts, and he said, I'm going to, since this was such a problem for you, instead of $349, put in $400, we'll reimburse you. Well, I put in 400 in this little block, and it was 40,000. And then
Yep.
I said, I did not do that. Well, I'll connect you with my manager. And that's when another person came on screaming and yelling, oh, I'm going to lose my job, Finally got that was what is happening. Fortunately, I had fraud protection. I called them. I kept this person on the line. He kept telling me to go to the bank. I went to the bank. Got in the bank and told them what happened. And while he's still on the phone, and they closed the accounts, but they had transferred money from my husband's account to my account. It was devastating. And so there's so many different ways in its, okay, I just wanted to share that story.
And that happens to more people than people think. And a lot of people kind of feel that they don't want to talk about whenever they're taken advantage of like that. But I think it's really important, because it's not, you can be the most intelligent person in the world, but under a time pressure, you're expecting it. It sounds like something reasonable. And in that case, they did the scam where they're on your computer. So they just quickly add some zeros before you notice. It's all reasonable until that number. It's not out of the blue. Like, Norton does cost money. You do have to renew it. All of these things make sense. And it's profitable for them. So they just keep getting better and better. And at one point, it was all, again, not to be racial, because this isn't really a racial thing, but it's Indian accents on the phone, and they are super nice to you until they're not. It has also gotten to the point where there are US based ones now. So, it'll be like a Texas accent. So you can't even tell anymore, because it's an overseas accent. It's really unfortunate, and it's a really common scam.
Well, the follow-up to that, so I said, well, I've got to call Norton, tell him what's going on. So I went online and looked for customer support. And the person that answered the phone, and in, like I say, it feels like racial profiling, had an Indian accent, and he said, Norton, give me your email. And I said, no, I'm not going to give you my email. 3 or 4 times he said, give me your email. And then I told him why I wasn't giving him my email. I gave him the situation, but I just was appalled. And how do you know when you go online and you go for customer support on such as Norton that you're getting the right person?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, and this isn't a be all end all, but if you go on, you go to Google, you type in Norton support, you see the web address as, www.norton.com/support/contact or whatever. And in the top left, there'll be a little green lock icon. That lock means that the web traffic between you and the website is encrypted. You always need to see that. And it also means that the certificate is valid. And what happens with the certificate is basically a kind of a scam, but what it is, that's for another topic, but it's basically a certificate authority saying, yes, this is Norton. We have certified that this website is Norton. So as long as you see that the certificate is valid, the little green lock icon, it means that you're on a legitimate website. And then you should feel a reasonable amount of safety with that call.
So Tim,
Sorry, you're muted.
How do you do that? Like I went online, got the phone number. How do I know that phone number is appropriate?
So on the browser I'm using, obviously it's not a green lock icon, but up here is a normal lock icon. I believe on Chrome it's green.
Okay.
Click on this, connection is secure, certificate valid, issue to Norton LifeLock. That sounds real. You know,
Okay.
that's kind of how you can verify.
Okay.
It's
Thank
not the be all end all, but you want to see this. If you don't see this, it's definitely bad.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tim.
so Tim, Eileen had her hand raised and there's also a question in chat.
Okay.
Eileen, do you want to go ahead?
Yes. All right. And not to pick on Norton, but I got an email from Norton saying, order confirmation number, whatever, your automatic renewal. Well, I don't have Norton, so I don't have automatic renewal. Am I better off to ignore that message? And if by chance, I can't believe they have my credit card number, but if they do, if I get a bill for my credit card, deny it that way? Or am I better off to click on that email and say, hey, I don't?
It's always better to mark as spam or at the very least ignore. So what will happen is as soon as you interact with we're just assuming this email is bad. As soon as you interact with a bad actor, all that tells them is, even if you don't do anything with them, all that tells them is this person is real and they will interact with us. And then they will trade that email address as an active person with other scammers. So you may not fall for that one,
Right.
but if you interact with it, you'll get another scam and then another scam because you've shown that you're real.
Does that apply to when you unsubscribe? That only confirms your email address for them, right? When they say unsubscribe is an option.
If you unsubscribe by clicking the unsubscribe link, that can show you're active. That's why I prefer to hit just mark as spam. You won't see it again. They don't know that you interacted with it.
I've been getting all this stuff that mark as junk and they keep coming back.
Yeah, it takes a while. The other good thing is if you're using a service like Gmail or Microsoft, so Outlook 365, what will happen is the more people who mark these things as spam, the better they will get at determining what is spam. And then it will get blocked more often. It's not like a really quick turnaround time. It's more of a, with all of our powers combined, Captain Planet type message. So the more people who mark it as spam, the more it will get marked as spam and you won't have to see it as much.
So I made the mistake of trying to put this order through and then I canceled it. But ever since then, every day I'm getting something from them.
Yep.
So every day I'm saying junk, 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 but it's still coming in. Okay.
And Mary, you mentioned something in the chat. I only see a comment about Microsoft and Mac.
Oh, no. How would you authenticate an email source if you suspect it has been spoofed? I think you sort of went, well, that was the website.
So that is a difficult one. Let's go with promotions. Wow. All right. This is a lot. Canva. Let's see if I remember. I have to look at this all the time. show original. So what you want to do is look at this page. If this scares you, don't worry. It scares me too, and I am supposedly looking at it a lot. So basically what I can tell from this is it's from, if you're not sure what Canva is, it's kind of like a really, really light Photoshop that makes creating online things like flyers really, really quick. So it's a real thing. So SPF, DKIM, DMARC, pass, 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 good. That means it's legitimate, legitimate, legitimate. It also says from, so it's from the correct email. I don't know what start is, but it's at engage.canva.com, which sounds real. And then down here, you can look, you know, it's authenticated by Google, the headers passed, you know, the signature passed RSA, all this stuff. So in
How did you
here,
get
there's
to this-
nothing.
How did you get to this page?
Yeah, that's the fun part. For Google, for Gmail, you will go to the upper right-hand corner of an email message, hit the 3 dots where it says more, and you will go to show original. And then it will give you basically all the raw information about the email. This is definitely something I could wax poetic about for at least an hour. So if people are interested in learning what all of this information is, we can definitely put a class together, or you can come talk with me on a Wednesday, and I can go over it. But basically, if you're able to go in here, go see the original message, the big things to look for are the from address. It has to make sense. If you get an email that says it's from Microsoft, but it's, you know, tim@randomemailaddress.com, it's not real. If SPF, DKIM, and DMARC don't say pass, that's not good either. So this top part is a little bit easier to read, and it will give you kind of a quick snapshot of, is this real or not? But again, you go to the 3 dots. It may be a similar thing, or it may be settings or more on a different email client. And then you go to show original. But that's a really good question. I do want to say one thing. We are going to continue. I'm, you know, clearly fine with talking for a long period of time. One of my favorite scams I've ever seen takes advantage of 2-factor authentication. So buckle in. What happens is that someone will try to reset your password. Okay, they'll reset your online banking password. Now, in order to reset your password, you will get a text message if you have 2-factor authentication set up. And it will ask you to verify, you know, type in this code and you're good. And then you can reset your password. What this scam entails is they will call you and try to reset your password, but they will call you and say, hey, this is, you know, blah, blah, blah at blah bank. We've sent you a text message to verify you are who you say you are. Can you give that code to us to verify your identity before we talk to you? Which sounds like they're being very secure. They sent you a code that you have to use to verify that they're talking to the right person. The only issue is that code is what lets them change your account, allows them to change your password and gain access to your banking information. So just to show you on the one side that, like, the verification in that case came before they were talking to you. And in any case, they won't call you and ask you to verify, or at least they shouldn't. You will call them. So just keep in mind that if you get an email or a phone call from someone and it's really, really important, you should be calling them. They shouldn't be calling you. Was there a hand up?
Yeah, Jean, you had a hand up. Do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Number one, the thing you were just talking about with the verification, I had that happen to me through Comcast, and they sent me a verification code and everything, but then they were asking me to change my password, and there really wasn't a reason to change my password. So I told them I wasn't willing to do that. And so I hung up with them and called a different Comcast number to get help. But it was, so I don't know how I got this wrong number for Comcast, but I think I was the one that called them because I was having a problem. Actually, the problem I called them about was what I wanted to ask you about. I am having trouble with my emails going through to people, and they're going into people's spam folders. And so somehow I'm being marked as a spammer to people that I always send emails to. So I'm in sales, and so I send out a lot of emails to my customers. And so even long-term customers, all of a sudden, my emails are going into their spam folders. So I was trying to contact Comcast to figure out how do I make that not happen. And I do have an unsubscribe at the bottom of my email in case anybody ever did get an email from me and didn't want it. So for first-time customers that got an email from me, if they didn't want to be a customer, they have the opportunity to unsubscribe. And I was told that that was something that you need to put in your emails in order to not be classified as a spammer. So my question is, especially when you just mentioned a moment ago for people to mark someone as spam versus go to the unsubscribe, it's like from the other end, that makes life really difficult because I can't really do business if everybody marks me as a spammer.
It does.
Yeah, so I don't know how to get unclassified as a spammer. And you just talked about this authentication. Like, do I need to somehow authenticate my email address?
So you can. So generally, if you are sending from like an email, from like a Gmail address or from a Comcast address, they will do all of that authentication on their side because you're sending it through them. I don't know if I spoke to you. I'm really bad at remembering people. But,
I did come in the other week.
Okay, but yeah, the whole sender score thing.
Right, yes.
Yep. And I know the library, Mary may remember this, but the library was having issues with this. And the way we got out of it was we made sure that we verified our DKIM records because we didn't have that before. So you can
say that again. DKIM?
Yeah, let me get the actual DKIM.
This is super small to see.
So I will
print on this.
Notepad.
Yeah, I can't see anything on that, even with my glasses.
Font all the way.
It should be
DKIM. Okay. And DMark. Okay.
Yep. So you can see that easily by sending it to a different email address you have and then viewing it and making sure that it says pass and pass.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the other thing I think I told you was you would basically want to use a program to tell you the reason why your email is being marked as spam. And it can be various things like the verbiage you use or the quantity. I remember your quantity wasn't that high, so that wasn't the reason. But basically, you need someone who's more intelligent or more knowledgeable than me about things like sender score.
Okay.
To kind of help you with that specific thing.
And how do I find somebody? I don't know who to go to.
I mean, I do know we have a marketing company in Peterborough. I of course can't remember their name, but
Okay.
you could always see if a marketing company could help you
Mm,
for a short period of time. Don't really have a really good answer.
yeah.
I think
Okay.
the unfortunate thing is you said that even if the people marked you as not spam and as a trusted sender, it still went into their spam folder. But basically you want to get as many people as possible to mark you as a trusted sender, and then it
Right.
should increase your score,
Mm,
your sender score.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we have, I think, 2 more slides. So this is just a quick, how to tell. So I do have a link to the FTC, which has an article on, how to tell and how to stop scams and fraud. So just these are some, nice little quaint bullet points to tidy everything up. Scammers will pretend to be from an organization you know. Scammers will say there's a problem or a prize. Scammers will pressure you to act immediately because they know, such as with the grandparent scam, that as soon as you get off the phone with them, you will probably try and contact that person and realize it's a scam. And the other thing is scammers will tell you to pay in a specific way. That's kind of weird. So they'll say something to the effect of, hey, we really need this in Bitcoin. That makes no sense. No one's going to ask you for payment in Bitcoin at this point. It's not that ubiquitous. They will also say, buy an iTunes gift card and show me the number on the back. That's also a weird way for them to pay, for you to pay. Or they'll say, go to your bank and do a wire. All those things are kind of weird in terms of payment for something. So they'll do that. So that's an easy way to tell. Not an easy way, but that is a way to tell if something is a scam or a fraud. And how to stop it. You block the unwanted calls or text messages. Please don't interact with them, because that will put you in their Rolodex of keep calling this person or keep emailing this person. They interact with you. Don't give your personal or financial information in response to a request that you didn't expect. The issue with that is such with like the ones where they do Norton or McAfee, they pretend to be one of those two. You'll oftentimes be expecting a renewal notice, or you'll be expecting them to call you or email you, like your Comcast account. They'll say, hey, this is Comcast. We're having issues with your account. Please call this number. It's not an immediate red flag that Comcast is calling you or wants to get in touch with you because you have an account with them. But what you should do in those instances is call or email directly to Comcast to ask for, what's up, and not respond directly to that message. Also, resist the pressure to act immediately. You should never get a phone call that's like, hey, the police are going to be at your house in an hour if you don't give us money, pay up. Nothing legitimate should ever be on a time crunch that severe. Anything like that. So resist the pressure to act immediately and try and verify it. Know how scammers tell you to pay. That was kind of just talked about, but scammers will try to get you to pay in weird ways sometimes. And as always, this kind of goes back to the pressure to act immediately. Stop and talk to someone you trust and do the, does this make sense to you question, because something may make perfect sense to you because you're under that time pressure, you're under that crunch. But as soon as you talk to someone else, they may say, hey, that doesn't make any sense at all. Because looking from the outside in at a lot of these, you'll think to yourself, how could I ever fall for that? And the answer is very easily. These things are getting very sophisticated. They're very good, and they have nice people talking to you and emailing you. You can no longer trust, or you can no longer bet on the, Indian accent that you can barely understand trope, or the really, really broken English in a message. Everyone has good grammar now, and they speak English incredibly well, and they're very helpful. So talk to somebody outside of the person you're talking to on the phone to see if it makes sense to them what's happening. So also on this page, we have the link to the workshop from the AARP Foundation on that goes over how to detect a scam. I went through a little bit of it, and it's very good. And it has like little quizzes, because I know everyone loves to be quizzed on their informational retention. So you can make sure that you're remembering what you learned. But I'm going to be free for questions, comments, anything like that for a while. That's the end of me like directly speaking at you. So basically, if anyone has any comments or questions or anything to add, now would be a great time.
I couldn't see that website from AARP. The print was really small.
Yeah, so Mary will be sending that out as a link to the slideshow. So the good thing about the slideshow is the next time we do this class, it will be updated. So if you save this link to the slideshow somewhere, you can check back on it in 2 years and the information will be updated.
Cool.
So it'll never go out of style.
And you don't even have to save the link because we update it to our YouTube page. So if you look for the tech recordings, you'll find it. So that's helpful. Is anybody else have any questions for Tim?
I don't know if this is a question for this topic or not. For one thing, it's about Facebook, which you don't approve of to begin with. But every 2 or 3 weeks, I'll get a friend request from a very attractive young woman. Not the same one over and over again. I'm not being stalked. Different ones, some from the US, some from other countries. And my first assumption is they were just the kind of person who gets off on having as many friends as they possibly can. 4,213 Facebook friends, which is 3 more than their competitor. But is that also the introduction to a scam if I were dumb enough to accept their friend request?
Sometimes. So generally what's happening there is it's, obviously a fake person sometimes, but they'll be trying to get more friends, more followers, more likes, which will show other people that they have more friends, more followers, more likes, which will show the algorithm that they're a real person who's really interactive with the community. So their posts will go higher in people's timelines. And then they can, leverage the amount of contacts they have on that account for whatever reason. I mean, it's generally just some sort of marketing thing where you can buy and sell accounts, but it can be nefarious. Or, people have a lot of information on their Facebook page. So your friends are able to see pretty much everything you post.
Yeah.
They can look back in your history, see the name of your dog, see potentially where you've been if you take pictures, all that fun stuff. So one of the reasons I dislike a lot of social media is the whole tracking aspect of it.
Well, I've got a fake birth date, and a fictional first dog, and a fictional first car.
Yeah, so you'll confuse a lot of scammers out there.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Tim?
Or comments.
Or
We're an
comments?
open book.
This has been really, really impressive, and as Ross said, scary.
Yeah.
But thank you very, very much, Tim, for running this workshop.
Yeah. Thanks everyone who who came and interacted. It's always good.
You've paradoxically raised my fear level tremendously, but also raised my confidence that maybe I can protect myself better now. So thank you.
Yeah, and as always, if you want to know different ways to protect yourself, more on the online aspect of it and your computer in general, we do have the classes on internet security and password management. Probably the best thing you can ever do is turn on two-factor authentication and have a strong password. And if you haven't been a part of those classes, Mary can email you the slides and the videos for the past ones we've done, which may be a little out of date, but we'll run them again someday.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm going to turn the recording off.